So today we're going to be talking about growing your business with social media in 2021. Really looking at social media and understanding all the different platforms that are out there, or at least the ones that we're going to talk about and the most popular ones, to really figure out how we can best set ourselves up for success and be able to understand what we're getting ourselves into, how to utilize some of these platforms and understand the differences between them. So with that said, what we're going to be kind of talking about here is first is going to be kind of finding your voice. Part of a really important piece of social media is really, again, finding that voice, understand how do you communicate and how do you connect with people on the different platforms when we're going after different demographics, when different platforms have different demographics and everything like that. Also utilizing social media. So we'll actually go platform by platform, and we're actually going to look at the different platforms out there that we're going to talk about here today and really how you can utilize them for your business. We'll also get into some trends and techniques as we go along as well. So you can kind of understand, okay, what's maybe different in 2021 than it was maybe different last year, the year before, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so the first thing to understand here, and the first thing that I like to kind of start out with is that you want to make sure you understand how we're going to utilize social media. And this really goes for any platform that we're talking about. So this is Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok, Twitter, any of them that we're kind of talking about here. From a business perspective, our goal here is to cement ourselves as an industry expert. Now we'll get into kind of how we do that, but that's a lot of times the overarching goal about this is to be able to kind of, connect with people in a way that over time and as they stay connected to you, as they get connected to you, that you essentially present yourself as an industry expert. Now, the other thing to kind of how we get there is by being a resource to your followers and other potential followers. And so we kind of do that with the give, ask methodology. So what we're kind of talking about here is again, you want to give two pieces of content that are, again, more resourceful or entertaining or humorous than being able to kind of ask for one. So what we're kind of telling here is, again, don't just come onto social media and sell. You need to make sure that we're being able to connect with people in a way that they want to be done on social media. I doubt any of us here want to go onto social media and just see a barrage of ads or a barrage of posts that are saying, buy this, buy this, buy this. All of those types of things are part of what we're talking about. And so it's understanding that to be a resource to people, and we'll kind of go through, give you guys some examples throughout the presentation. But again, we want to, top 10 lists, something that's humorous, something about the news, just an entertaining photo, an entertaining post, a video, those types of things. Again, you're not asking for something, but then we also then get to a point where, like that third post, we might want to remind them of a sale that we have. We might want to remind them that fall is coming, and this is how we can help them. That's how I want you guys to kind of contextualize your social media strategy as you move forward with this. Another thing is understanding the benefits of social media and kind of having the right expectations. What we're talking about this is that a lot of times when I talk with business owners, there's kind of this misconception about social media. We know that it's important and we know that we should be doing it, but a lot of times we end up equating it and relating it to just exactly how SEO or running Google ads should or could be. Well, unfortunately, that's not the case. And that's honestly what makes social media special, what makes social media different. But you have to have the right expectations. So to give you an example, like when you start running ads on Google, really your main focus is just to get conversions and sales because you're going after people that are actively looking for you. Well, so here's kind of where it kind of changes on social media is now you're going to the individuals and trying to connect to them on a social level and not as direct sales level. So this is where, there's a branding benefit to social media, being able to kind of enhance your brand, both visually and just, notoriety wise by getting more followers and being on those platforms. Also, social media has become a very big customer service platform where people feel comfortable being able to potentially message you on social media, whereas maybe they don't want to call or they don't want to fill out a contact form. So there is a benefit to customer service. Also, there is a component of SEO. So be potentially even helping you rank better with Google, again, with being on social media. And then last but not least is a lot of times the one that we all think about or that we potentially want to be on social media for, which is kind of the sales aspect. So that's okay to be on social media, again, want to get sales, but it's just reiterating here as you can see, that it's only 1/4 of really kind of setting the right expectations for all the different values that social media is going to be there. Another thing that you're also going to see throughout the presentation, and I'll actually mention it a couple of times because it's so important, is reusing content. What we mean by that is content doesn't necessarily have to be a post. But for instance, if you put a lot of effort into creating a blog post on your website, you most likely could probably get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 posts out of that. Maybe you created a special video. Maybe you did a special, again, mailer that you sent to people for the Christmas season. I'm just saying, look to the things that you've already invested in with your website, with your newsletters, with your offline kind of, collateral. And, again, look to try to reuse some of those and repurpose that content for social media. It can make your life a little bit easier and help you really kind of get going with that, as well as adding kind of a personal touch, because you're not just copying and pasting that content from somewhere else. You actually created that in another venue, and now you're just pulling it over. Another thing to kind of talk about, and I mentioned this at the beginning, was finding your voice. So after the presentation, and as you guys start to kind of digest all this information, is to look at what social media platform best fits your business. You're gonna hear a lot of social media platforms today, and it's gonna be important to kind of figure out, okay, which one or ones are going to be the most beneficial to my business to be able to, that I can connect with my demographic or potential, again, desired demographic. Also, you want to make sure that you don't spread yourself too thin. Don't just jump on and say like, okay, Ben, I'm going to jump on all, again, the platforms you talk about. Let's go. Let's do every single one of them. A lot of times that's a recipe for disaster because you might get burnt out. You may not, be underestimating the amount of content and energy that it's going to go into those. So it's making sure you don't spread yourself too thin. It's okay to start with 1, 2, 3 platforms and build from there. Also looking at making sure we have different types of content, not just always doing text content, not always just doing photo content, but we have link content. We have all these different types. You can actually see on the far right here, here's a graph that was recently put together for social media content increasingly favored by consumers. So you can see that the number one piece that's favored by consumers right now is links to other information. But also up there is educational images and infographics, videos, text, edited photos. So you can kind of see this information here. And the idea is that there's already 5 different pieces of content that you're seeing at right here. The other thing is you want to make sure that you get on a schedule and post regularly. I sometimes get asked, Ben, well, can I just post a couple times a month and I should be good? The answer is no. If you want to take this seriously, you got to put the time and the effort into it. And minimally, you should be looking at 2 to 3 times a week. And most platforms, ideally, it's 5 to 7 times a week. There is a lot of content creation that has to happen here, but that's also why I want to give you guys some ideas throughout the presentation. One of them was just reusing that content from before. But as we go through the different platforms, talking specifically about some of the different pieces of content that really work for those platforms and how you can utilize that. Also, something you might also want to look into to help you guys are looking at third-party applications that help you post more efficiently. Really what we're talking about here is Hootsuite, Buddy Media, Buffer. These are just 3 examples of some. And really what you get to do is you can connect all of your social media accounts to it and then be able to log into that platform and then manage content going out to all your platforms or most of your platforms. So this can really kind of hopefully expedite and, again, prevent you potentially having to log in organically to every single account all the time to be able to kind of post that. This can kind of consolidate that for you and be able to have you, manage that more efficiently. Okay, another big one is trends. So looking at 2021 kind of trends right now, one of them is understanding the generation's favorite platforms and messaging on them, again, specifically to those demographics. So we'll kind of talk about this actually a little bit throughout the presentation as we kind of dissect some of the platforms. But this is a really big one to kind of understand because we are getting a lot of different, demographics. Again, every platform has every age on it. It's just, of course, what is going to be more prevalent than others. So for instance, on Facebook, the number one demographic on there is now baby boomers. Instagram, the number one demographic on Instagram are millennials. So again, it's understanding who's on that platform, realizing that anybody also is on that platform as well, but this is the most highly, populous demographic on each one of those, just for these two examples. And so, for instance, if baby boomers is a part of your main demographic, then you absolutely should be on Facebook. If millennials are a demographic that may be growing for you, well, again, maybe we want to go after Instagram as a way to kind of connect with them further. Now, another thing is, we kind of talked about this before, is reusing content. Again, the content meaning, but conform to the platform. So what I'm talking about here is, you'll kind of see this. So some platforms, for instance, are going to have different character restrictions. Some platforms are going to be more video-based or picture-based than word-based. The idea, though, is we can have the same content meaning through every post that we do, but we might have to configure it to the actual platform specifications or what worked best for that platform. But that is just really understanding that, again, we can still have the same meaning and we can still post that out on the same day to all our platforms. We'll just most likely have to reconfigure that a little bit. Another bigger one is called user-generated content. So what user-generated content is it's essentially taking content that others have shared that is a part of your business. So to give you kind of a couple examples, one really easy example is that if you have a Google My Business account and people write reviews for you, or even on your Facebook account or on your Yelp account, the idea is you could take that review that is public on those different platforms and you could make a post about it. You're taking somebody else, as a user that created content, and now you're creating a post around it. Well, maybe also you have, we have a client that is a spice company, and they have, again, pictures of, they have people that will just post pictures on their comments and stuff like that of them using the spices in different dishes that they make. Well, again, you can take those pictures then and then make a post as the business for that. So hopefully it gives you kind of a couple examples, but really leaning into this user-generated content is a really smart and can be very valuable type of thing, because again, not only are you being able to not have to potentially think of creating that content, it's already there, but also people love to usually see their content being utilized by, someone that they publicly, gave a good review to, posted about, we're happy to use your product or service. So look at, trying to implement user-generated content into your strategies. And also, it's important to know, with some of the changing times and the things that happened in 2020 continue to happen in 2021, and some of the transitions as a country and world we're going through, to note that users are much more socially conscious, and not only that, they're much more perceptive of how brands are reacting. Now, again, you can take that for how that fits into your brand and what you want to kind of do with that. But just knowing that even over a couple of years ago, users are much more socially conscious of what's going on, but then also specifically how you as a business may be reacting to that. So again, understanding that and figuring out how you potentially want to put that into your campaigns is important information to look at. And the last two trends are, one is social media influencers. So really, influencers are just someone that has a, usually a large following for usually kind of a more specific niche. Now, of course, we have giant, social media influencers that are known across their platforms and a lot of times have millions upon millions of followers. But the other thing to know too is, if you're a smaller business, there's a lot of times smaller influencers that have a lot of followers that are maybe connected to a very niche part of either a demographic you want to go to, or maybe even within your industry, and you could partner with them. So simply doing some searches to figure out who in your demographic would be potentially an influencer, but also who also in your industry is an influencer, could be a smart kind of part of your strategy to be able to see if you could utilize them, if it's partnering with them, doing an advertising campaign with them, just understanding them so you could watch how they even, again, do their posts and stuff like that, kind of be a fly on the wall type of thing. So you can get a lot of value out of that, and you can utilize that in several different ways. And last but not least, and this is a really growing one, is called social shopping. This is predominantly for Facebook and Instagram, but what we're kind of talking about here is setting up your actual shop if you sell anything, and then you can actually tag products with those, again, with those items that you're selling, and allow people to click on them and either buy them on social media or be able to go to your website and purchase them there. What this can also help you do is, when we talk about that give, ask mentality, is that we can start to slip in just tagging products without actually having to claim it up at top. So again, instead of saying, hey, we're running a sale on these koozies, you should go buy one. You could literally just do a fun post of people on the beach, and you would just tag the koozie in the picture. So it comes off as less sales and more fun that way, but we can still get our exposure for our product and potential purchase of that. So social shopping is one that's really growing and will be something for you guys to look at if that's applicable to your business and strategy from there. Okay, so now what we're going to start doing is that we've kind of talked a little bit of kind of the overview strategy. We've talked a little bit about kind of finding your voice, and we talked about some of the trends that are going in. Now I just want to start to kind of peel back some of these different platforms. Now, again, this might sound like rapid fire, and this is kind of why we record these presentations as well as give you guys a copy of them. But also it's important just to know all the ones that are out there, because these are going to be potential, again, opportunities for you to either improve the ones that you're on or potentially grow into other ones. So the first one we always start out with is Facebook. So Facebook is the largest social media platform out there. It's the one that probably most of us are on, or again, has the most populace. If we were to take a hand raise of which social media platforms do you utilize. So a couple things to kind of look at with Facebook. We already talked about that the number one demographic on Facebook are baby boomers. And that's kind of reflected here in the average user. So the average user is 25 to 40, and that's even aging as we speak. So it's even kind of getting, again, further and further there. Female, newer to technology, and usually kind of in the 65 plus user growth is really exponentially is exploding. And that's why we kind of see that, from there. It's also important to know that 66% of users use Facebook on a daily basis. So we're talking about a ton of people, almost 2 billion people are utilizing Facebook on a daily basis. And those users that do use it on a daily basis usually spend 20 minutes on average on that platform. That's a lot of screen time, and that's a lot of opportunity as a business to potentially kind of connect with them, reconnect with them, sell them something. Anything that we're kind of looking to do on Facebook that's a lot of time, and that's a great opportunity to do that. Now, when we start to talk about what content works on, on these specific platforms, when it comes to Facebook, kind of the beauty of it is that Facebook's going to give you the biggest array of content that works on this. So some of the content pieces that really work well on Facebook are blogs and articles. Goes back to that one slide that we just talked about a couple ago that said 30% of users prefer links to other articles as their number one favorite kind of piece of content on social media. Well, that's really what we're talking about here. Now, they could be your blogs and articles, which you should absolutely be sharing, but potentially they can also be other people's articles that obviously are not competitors. Why that can be important is it goes back to cementing yourself as an industry expert. Being an industry expert doesn't mean you have to come up with all the content yourself. It's someone saying, hey, you are an industry expert and I'm going to follow you. I know that some of the content is going to be yours, but I also know some of the content is going to be vetted by you, so I don't have to do that. And it's still going to be beneficial to me. It's going to be related to what you do or why I'm kind of connected to you. That's ultimately what we're kind of talking about there. Pictures and video, or potentially even going live on Facebook. But really, again, kind of, again, a picture says 1,000 words, a video says even more than that. So being able to kind of utilize those graphic, again, type of, again, pictures, creating your own graphics, doing videos, of course, adding that element to it. Facebook can be a great way just to add quick updates and questions. So maybe you guys have a big announcement coming up, maybe you have an event and you want to just get some quick updates. Facebook is a fantastic way for that. And last but not least is it's a really good way to kind of have a conversation and start to ask questions. Again, people are usually not going to be shy about giving you your opinion, or their opinion on your post, sometimes, again, wanted and unwanted, but it can be a great way to start different types of conversations, either related around business, social, entertainment, whatever that may be. Now, the reason we would be on Facebook and what it really kind of helps us do is, one is it really can help you drive traffic to your site. Facebook is one of the bigger platforms that allow us very easily to put a link into one of our posts and have someone click on it and go to our website. So again, that could be for a blog post, that could be for one of your ask posts, one of your sale posts. It could be a lot of different types of things, but we can get them and we can really drive good traffic to our site. We also can engage with users, especially with the conversation with so many people on Facebook. We can really start to engage with them and start to respond back, like back, all of that other kind of stuff that happens. But we can really start to have a two-way conversation instead of just a one-way conversation on Facebook. And ultimately, we can also promote events and products very well because of the social shopping aspect that I talked about, as well as that Facebook has its own event platform that we can also utilize. Now, some negatives, again, every platform is going to have some things that might be, a little negative. And so one of them is for Facebook is when you're the most populous platform out there, you probably have the most competition. And that's one thing just to realize with Facebook is that we're not only competing with the other businesses, we're competing with all the other eyeballs and all the other people that our followers are connected to. So it can be, again, very, very competitive. Also, Facebook has really gone to a pay-to-play type of methodology. What I mean by that is you really have to work on getting more and more followers, because essentially the rule of thumb is every time that you post on Facebook, it approximately it's going to go to 4 to 12% of your followers. That doesn't mean it's every time, and sometimes your post can do better than that and things like that. But on average, if you have, again, let's just say 100 followers, just to make easy math, you definitely want to get more than 100. But again, if we have 100 followers and I post, really on average, 4 to 12 people are going to see that. That's why we need to start creating, again, that's why we want to start posting more often so that we have opportunities for those posts to reach more people, which then we get more followers, which then that percentage, of course, 10% of 100 is going to be less than 10% of, 500 and 10% of 1,000. And so the numbers kind of continue to increase. And so that's ultimately one thing to kind of look at. Also, it's important to know, depending on who your demographic is, that Facebook can be looked at as stale. Now, on the opposite side, to potentially some baby boomers that are getting on this platform the very first time, it might not be stale, it might look as exciting. But the reality is, though, is that as baby boomers start to kind of, go on Facebook more often, it has pushed some of the younger generations off that platform, or that they don't utilize that platform as much and have gone to other ones from there. So also, it just kind of depends that if your demographic is Gen Z, well, again, you're probably not going to have as many of them from a percentage standpoint on this platform than some of the other platforms we might be talking about. So it's just important to be cognizant of that and understanding how it relates to our demographics. Now, one thing I like to kind of show people, and this is kind of a trick to kind of help you kind of jumpstart some of your followers and also take advantage of that as an ongoing basis, is this little trick here. So there are 2 internal systems built into Facebook that are completely free of charge that you should definitely take advantage of. So one of them is you can actually invite your friends to like your business page. Now, this isn't going on to your personal page and saying, hey, can you guys all please like Skol Marketing and putting a link there? You can do that, but that usually isn't going to, again, yield the best results. What this internal tool allows you to do is to actually go in, if you're an admin of the Facebook business page, and go into the community section on your business page and be able to actually invite all of your friends, and they get a special notification saying, hey, Ben Theis has invited you to like the page Skol Marketing. Then they're able to kind of click, simply click on it and they can approve it, and you can get likes just like that. Now, a couple things to kind of know about is you are limited on the number of invites, and Facebook isn't really clear and constantly changes this. So usually what I tell people is you can see the far right here, there's a select all blue link above the little boxes on the far right screenshot there. You would just simply select all so you can see all of your followers, and then you would just kind of continuously invite them until Facebook says you can't. Then you want to just kind of keep checking back, every few days, every week or so, maybe every month, and just seeing and just kind of do it until all of your friends have been invited. So that, again, unfortunately, you can only send your friends 1 invite ever. So once you've kind of, invited them, if they didn't accept it or if they didn't see it, unfortunately, that's it. But on average, you should be able to see 10 to 20% of your followers or your friends be able to invite it right away. So again, going back to, if you have 1,000 followers, or 1,000 friends on your personal page, if you do this, you should most likely see, 100 to 200 likes just like that. So this can be kind of a good way to, like I said, to kind of jumpstart it. And then the same type of methodology can be used for any of your posts ongoing. So every time that you post, of course, people are going to react Again, like it, love it, hate it, again, sad face, all of that kind of stuff. As you go forward and as you aggregate them, you can see an example here is this particular post on the right is there's going to be a number next to your reaction. So this one would have said, 17 people reacted to your post. You can click on that 17 number and it's actually going to show you the people that actually did that. And you can see to the right-hand side here, Brian and Alice in this particular example here they liked my post, but they didn't like my page. And this is kind of how social media sometimes works, is because Alice and Brian may have seen this because one of their friends liked my post or were liking my page, and were able to kind of be connected to that content. Well, what I'm able to do free of charge is just kind of keep an eye on that. And then I can send Brian and Alice an actual invitation. And so then you can, for free of charge and just kind of being able to do this, be able to freely build up your followers from there. So these are two little just kind of tricks to kind of help you, again, jumpstart it and then continue to maintain your followership and grow your followership. Another thing to also kind of know about is just Facebook ads. Now, I'm not going to spend much time on this because we have a whole presentation for this, but just since I talked about the pay to play type of thing, is that the biggest thing that I just want to make sure that you guys understand with Facebook ads is the difference between Google and social media advertising. When you advertise on Google, you're going after someone that is in the mindset to look for something and is essentially looking for you. I'm looking for a roofer near me, hail damage near me, and ads can essentially pop up because it's predicated on what I'm searching for. Social media, though, is you're going after someone you think would be interested in this off of their behavior. I want to go after a 25 to 50-year-old male that lives in Minneapolis, loves Minnesota sports and dogs. Again, like that's how you can go after, but you're going after someone you think would be, again, interested in yours. So again, Facebook ads can be super powerful if done right and configured, and we can take a lot of the same methodologies we're talking about and apply to Facebook ads. But this is one, if you are really interested in this, I encourage you to check out our other workshop that really dives into this a little bit further. But I did just want to talk just briefly about Facebook ads because they are very important, especially if you're starting your page from scratch. I highly recommend that you try putting some money into Facebook ads to get some exposure out there. Otherwise, you can do it organically. It just a lot of times it takes a lot longer than people would like. And sometimes it's demoralizing the amount of content and good content you're producing and just not getting that back just because it takes a while to get going. And then, of course, we have the Facebook pixel that you just want to make sure, and we can, and you can do this organically or, again, if you're running ads, but this is really kind of cool. Every platform here has a pixel. And so it's making sure that you can be able to track all of these different types of things that are happening on your page. And then once they lead and go to your website as well. Okay, so now we talked a little bit about Facebook there, or quite a bit about Facebook there. Now we're going to kind of move into some of the other platforms. So the other platform we're going to start with is Instagram. So a couple interesting things about Instagram is that Instagram is actually owned by Facebook. And Instagram has approximately right now 1.0 billion monthly users and approximately over 500 million daily users. So we can kind of see an average user here is about 18 to 24, is female, and is tech savvy. So this goes into kind of that millennial type of user here. So, again, millennials are going to be kind of at that level, is going to be the most populous, again, person on that, the populous demographic on that platform. Now, here's where it gets a little bit different. Even though Facebook owns Instagram, the reason that they bought it is because there are a lot of differences. Facebook, of course, wouldn't have bought the same exact platform and just left it up. So if Instagram is all about visuals, so like we're on Facebook, we could say, hey, check out my new blog or check out this article, and we could post a link. You don't do that really here on Instagram. What you have to do is you have to attach some type of visual component to it. So either an image or images or video or videos that you again, want to essentially kind of utilize, and we can use them in different types of ways. We can post them. We can just have them on our story. We can do Instagram Live or Instagram TV, really. So, we can utilize them, but they all have to either be images and or photos. The other thing with Instagram is, from a behavioral standpoint, is it's a little bit different, and it's what we kind of call hashtag centric. So for those that are familiar, a hashtag is just going to be using the number sign and then really kind of saying anything you want. You're essentially tagging your post with things that would be related to that post. So like hypothetically, say I take a screenshot of, this, my screen right now, me presenting to you guys, and I post about that on Instagram. I might do hashtag presentation, hashtag social media marketing, hashtag, a workshop, all of those different other kind of things. So my point being is I'm tagging my post with things with keywords essentially that are related to that. Why that's important is every time you do a hashtag, it becomes a hyperlink, which means that your discoverability factor increases to be found on Instagram. This is a really, again, big way on how to increase your following on Instagram is by using hashtags. Because for instance, if it's hashtag social media marketing, someone may have found another post out there that had social media marketing on it. They said, hey, I want to see more of these posts. They click on that hashtag and they can either start following it. So that hashtag, anytime posts are tagged with that, it can actually start showing up in their feed, or they can just see the posts that are out there. Well, now if you tagged your post with that, you have the opportunity to be found from someone that wasn't necessarily looking for me as in Skol Marketing, but was looking for the topics that I'm speaking about or posting about. That's why hashtags are super important. And that's why you want to start to kind of look to utilize that. Also, products and events. We can also do Instagram shopping and that social shopping that I talked about with Facebook. It's the same type of thing here. We can tag different products on our images. So we can still say, hey, buy this with our give, ask methodology, but now we could even kind of lessen that a little bit, and we can just tag the posts and the pictures with actual products to be able to then have that be a little bit more of a softer sell. So how we can use this is, one is selling visual products. Like I say, it makes it very clean and simple. It doesn't really clutter your picture by tagging it. So that can be a really kind of big positive. Also, gaining exposure, that discoverability factor. How we get found on Instagram is a little bit different than most types of platforms, as long as we're producing the content correctly and then tagging it correctly with hashtags. And also can be building up a younger follower, again, following. With it being millennials and even kind of in a Gen Z, we can kind of build up that following a little bit that a lot of times might be different than our traditional baby boomer or whatnot type of demographic. Now, some of the things just to kind of, make sure that you realize on Instagram is that one is it's essentially phone-based. So it really is predominantly, where you could go on Facebook right now, facebook.com, I could just type up a post and I could send it out. Instagram, you can't do that. You can access your account online or on a desktop, but you can't go and actually post. You would actually have to use the app for that. Or actually just skipping to the bottom one there, you can use some third-party posting platforms like we talked about, like with Hootsuite, et cetera. They are a little cumbersome. It doesn't work exactly. It's not as seamless as I wish it was or it could be, but at least it can potentially help you there, so you're not maybe having to rely so much on the, again, phone app-based type of, strategy or implementation. And last but not least, and this is probably the one that really gets people the most with Instagram, is that you can't have any links in your posts. So again, going back to Facebook and I say, okay, hey guys, I just came up with a new product. Here's the link, check it out now. You can't do that on Instagram. You only get one profile link. So a lot of times you have to have them back to your profile, and then they can find, potentially your general website there. You can change at any point. But the point being is you can't have links in posts. Now you can if you're willing to pay for them and run Instagram ads, but organically, like you can in Facebook, like you can in Twitter, LinkedIn, and pretty much most of the platforms that we're going to kind of talk about here today, is you can have some of those links kind of available in there. So that's just one thing to kind of note about Instagram that can frustrate people, again, from that perspective. Okay, Twitter. So Twitter definitely, from some of the numbers that we've been talking about, has a lot less users, but still over 300 million monthly users. 40% of them are going to be active on mobile. And to be honest with you, that's pretty much kind of grown a little bit too. And so it's just, again, it's a very predominant kind of quick kind of platform. It's probably the best way to kind of explain Twitter. So content to post that really works well on Twitter is, again, that quick content, tips, facts, quotes, mentions, thoughts, things like that, because we do only have 280 characters. Now that's actually double than what it used to be, which was 140 characters, but it still is only at 280 characters, whereas pretty much the other platforms we talked about, you essentially have unlimited characters to kind of deal with. You just can't write sometimes a novel on there, but you can get a lot more characters than 280. But another type of good thing is simply resharing or retweeting different pieces of content. You can do that in some of the other platforms, but it's the simplest and easiest to do on Twitter. And it can also be a good way to actually get other followers, because they get a notification that you retweeted and you reshared. And that's looked even more positively on Twitter than any other platform when you share somebody's content on Twitter. And so another one is potentially even a customer spotlight. Again, it just kind of gave me ideas that these are little kind of quick snippets here. Another really good way that I actually utilize Twitter. Now, again, I like Twitter from a personal aspect, and again, the sports and the quick things and the quick thoughts and stuff like that. But from a business perspective, I also love it, not only from that perspective, but also to follow different companies. What I love about Twitter is they have this feature called lists. So you can actually put people in different lists and then go to that platform or go to that list and see all of those people that you put in there. So let me give you an example of how I kind of utilize this with Skol Marketing. Is we have an SEO list, we have a social media list, we have a web development list. So I put other industry experts that I look up to in those different lists. And it also even helps me, just stay on top of things and just kind of stay connected, not only to my industry, but a lot of the new stuff. But it also helps me decide what to post. I can utilize some of those pieces of content and now either reshare it or reconfigure it and make it into my own post by being able to kind of be on that fly on the wall and watch other businesses. Also, we can look to utilize this to elevate our status, of course, with getting more followers and things like that, especially from a personal branding perspective. That really can help. And then also it's to interact and get to know your customers better and kind of customer service. A lot of times people, just like I talked about on Facebook, a lot of times people can go on Twitter and tweet and, are looking for some customer service and feel more, again, comfortable sometimes doing that than always going to your website. So some of the negatives is that, to really kind of keep Twitter going and stuff like that, it's probably one of the highest platforms to really be engaging on and to really be posting on. And also that you've sometimes seen a lot of the public PR explosions a lot of times happen on Twitter. And this most often goes to because it's sometimes so laissez-faire or it's at so top of mind that sometimes people aren't thinking or vetting. Now, this usually doesn't happen with businesses that are in our categories that are most likely watching this and engaging with this, but it is just important to understand why. It's because of the way Twitter is kind of constructed. There are a lot of personal brands on Twitter, more than most other platforms. So a lot of celebrities and athletes and politicians and things like that. Yes, they may have a Instagram account or a Facebook account, but almost anybody that has a personal brand is going to have a Twitter account. And that's kind of where some of those things kind of can come from, and just to kind of watch out for. Okay, LinkedIn. Personally, actually my favorite social media platform. And the reason for that is it's essentially business oriented or business focused. So that's one thing, again, as we're talking about all these other platforms is, Facebook, we have a personal page and a business page. When we talk about, Twitter, we can have a business account and a personal account. So one of the things to look at with LinkedIn, though, is we still have that. We still have the personal page and the business page. But the unique thing about LinkedIn is, since it's all business focused, essentially, both platforms are really striving for the same type of goal, which is to connect with other people on a business level. So you can definitely see that the average user here is different. It's, again, in their 40s, it's male, it's newer to technology. A lot of times this is where you're going to see CEOs and business owners and those types of those types of people choosing this platform because, where Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and Snapchat and TikTok can have a lot of social components to it, we can kind of strip out some of that and really kind of stay focused with business. Another really good thing for, again, for you guys looking at this and potentially for your demographic is most of the users on LinkedIn are US based. So some of the content to kind of look, again, to kind of post are going to be very much business oriented or related. So we're going to have, we can post really high in-depth case studies, infographics, videos, facts, statistics. So here's kind of where you can, when I talked about that give, ask methodology, you still want to kind of apply that, but we can be a little bit more stern, a little bit more business focused with that, and don't have to be as social or as light sail on some of those things there. Now, of course, you don't want to just come out guns blazing and say, hey, I'm an insurance agent, I'm the best there is, contact me now for a quote. Or, hey, I'm a roofer, again, you need this service, call today. You can maybe do a couple of those, and obviously you want to soften and work on your tone there maybe a little bit. But my point being, though, is that you can be a little bit more direct here on LinkedIn than a lot of the other platforms that we're kind of talking about here today. Also, we can utilize LinkedIn on, as a great way to identify key referral partners, finding other people in our industry and kind of connecting with them or following them, very similar that I kind of talked about on Twitter. But you can do this a little bit more on a personal level and knowing that the platform is built for business. Also, to identify targeted prospects, the same type of, again, way we can search for potential referral partners, we can see some targeted prospects. Also, LinkedIn has a really good kind of group, kind of system where you can kind of join different types of groups, very similar to Facebook. But again, these are going to be all essentially business related with business professionals in them. And that's just going to be a very different experience than on a lot of the Facebook, just social aspect type of groups that you're going to see out there. Also, LinkedIn is usually always a virtual resume. I'll be honest, Skol Marketing, when we hire and we go through the hiring process, we predominantly use people's LinkedIn pages as their resume. They can attach the resume, but it's not required for us because, again, like LinkedIn should really be a really good virtual resume of, again, if you use LinkedIn, make sure that your entire profile is filled out. Again, go through, LinkedIn has what's called wizards, which all that means is they just those step-by-step kind of things to say, hey, did you fill out your title? Hey, did you fill out your past job descriptions? Hey, did you, again, upload some examples of your work? Going through all of that can be super beneficial. Not only obviously if you're looking for a job that is there, but even if you're not, it also helps you get found better because, LinkedIn at the end of the day is a very simplistic search engine. So the more types of content and pieces of things that we can do that are related to what we, offer our customers, you can then be found. LinkedIn, honestly, is the #1 platform that I've personally gotten leads that have turned into business for Skol Marketing. If that's speaking opportunities, website builds, social media consulting, all of that kind of stuff. And that's because I stay active on LinkedIn and I've tried to fill out as many places as possible, reiterating to LinkedIn what I do and what I specialize in, because people go to LinkedIn and actually search that way as well. And sometimes want to find a reputable, again, business professional in that realm. Yes, of course, people might be searching that on Google and things like that, but this is just a different way for them to engage and it offers a different type of person to be able to do that. And really the negative is just understanding, like I was saying before, is the personal page versus business page can just be a little confusing. It's really just understanding though, is anytime you start this, just like on Facebook, you're going to have a personal Ben Theis page and you're going to have a business Skol Marketing page. But unlike on Facebook, where of course on my personal page, I'll talk some things about Skol Marketing, but for me, I'm talking about, again, my dogs and I have a pet pig and I'm a big Vikings fan. I'm talking about all these kind of fun stuff there. But, again, on LinkedIn, I'm really keeping it very business orientated and business focused. I'm, still, having entertaining things and not just saying buy from Skol, but a lot of stuff that I'm posting here isn't going to see other platforms because it's very business orientated and focused. So that's why I love LinkedIn. And honestly, anybody on, that's listening to this should be utilizing LinkedIn. And most likely it is going to be, if not your top, one of your top kind of platforms, especially in the business to business realm. So one other kind of trick very similar to Facebook that I want to show you guys that you can help kind of springboard, but also continue to grow your LinkedIn business page is that they have this same kind of thing as LinkedIn, but unlike same thing as Facebook, but unlike Facebook, we're able to go in and invite all of your friends either at the same time or within the next few weeks, all at once. LinkedIn, unfortunately, only allows you to invite 100 people per month. Now, again, it's not a lot, but it can really help your page grow. So what I recommend is, and I have this on my calendar, the first of every month, I have a calendar invite reminder that says, Ben, LinkedIn follower credits. I then go on to LinkedIn and I use my credits. I click 100 people, and you can search through different things through your connections on LinkedIn, and it sends them out. What's kind of nice is the sooner you do that is always obviously better, because as people accept your invites, you get those credits back. So then usually about every week or so, I try to then go on to the Skol Marketing business page and see how many credits I got back. And if I got 6 credits back from that past week because 6 people accepted my invite, then I invite 6 more. So you can utilize more than 100, but this is a great way to kind of look to build your page and kind of continue to do that. One page that I'm going to kind of just briefly kind of talk about is Google My Business. The reason we talk about this in social media, because it's kind of a social media platform, but kind of not. It's more or less they have a social feature on here that used to be called Google Plus, which was Google's social media platform that was deprecated a couple years ago. But the one thing to know about is Google My Business is the little red pins on the map that you find on Google Maps. Well, so what they've done now is you can actually post, like social content to your business location page. So like if you go and look up Skol Marketing, you find us on Maps. If you scroll down, there's actually a section called Google Posts, and you'll see. And so we usually utilize our Google My Business posts for events and big announcements. And so you'll see all of our events post up there. But if you have some of those bigger kind of announcement things and very much related to your business, you don't necessarily have to try to cement yourself as an industry expert here. So for Google My Business, just talk about yourself. And a lot of times just talk about the big things, the events coming up, the big announcement, the big sales, the new products, those types of things. That's a great way to kind of post this and to be able to kind of utilize Google My Business. So again, it's not really a social platform, but when, again, all things are considered, there is a social aspect to it. Now, again, it's going to be different than most of them out there, but I do want to mention that because some people do remember Google Plus. Again, if you're trying to take advantage of every opportunity to increase your exposure, your SEO, your social reach, all of that type of stuff, this would be something to consider as well. Okay, starting to kind of wind down here. We've got a few more platforms, so hopefully you're sticking with me here. But with Pinterest, we've got close to 300 million monthly users. The interesting thing about Pinterest is that it's very predominantly female, and over 50% of users have children. So it's kind of dubbed the mom platform. Really, the goal of Pinterest is your posts or your pins, which are what they're called in Pinterest, is you essentially build boards, which are just collections of different pins. And your goal is to have people, as a user, I have different boards as well. And then, my goal as a business is to get you, the user, to take some of my pins and put them onto their board. To give you an example here, is if you are a wedding shop, is that a lot of times these are sometimes considered visual boards or things like that. So you own a wedding shop here in Minneapolis. Well, so your goal is you probably have different boards of different types of wedding dresses or wedding accessories. Well, a lot of brides or brides to be out there are putting together their own boards of different ideas of things that they want to do. So they find your pin and your board of all these beautiful dresses and love 2 of them. Well, they put both of those, they pin those pins to their board. So again, like that's how you're able to kind of be found. Same thing with hashtags. Again, same thing with kind of the content, but it's just done a little bit different, and some of the terminology is a little bit different. But really, it comes down to you're producing content that you want other people to find and to be able to kind of engage with. That's ultimately what Pinterest is going to do here. But it's obviously all from a visual component, very similar to Instagram. We can't just pin a word comment or a word pin or post. It has to be associated, like for instance, with a picture that then we can, again, do a description, do hashtags and stuff like that. So we can use it to drive traffic to our site, to increase email subscribers. So for instance, again, if you like this stuff, sign up for our email newsletter and get this stuff delivered to your inbox, and you can kind of go further in there. You can also sell products with Pinterest. It's another one that we kind of talked about, that social shopping. So Pinterest can be really good if you have kind of more of a visual business and you can kind of put some of these boards kind of together. Now, it can be niche, and that could be potentially negative, but that can also be a positive. So it kind of just depends on your business. A lot of times, like I said, these work very well for kind of visual businesses or businesses that we have different categories in that we can kind of visualize. So again, wedding, travel, food, drink, pets, entertainment, those types of things can work really well on Pinterest just because of the way that people engage with them. Okay, last couple of platforms here. Our second to last here is Snapchat. So Snapchat is one of those platforms that it isn't quite necessarily, it's considered a social media platform, but really it's half communication platform and again, half social media platform. The biggest thing with Snapchat is it is very popular with Gen Z and kind of the younger generations. And really what it is anytime you send a snap, which is just a picture or a video, you can either send it to people and they have 24 hours to essentially see it, or excuse me, that you send it to somebody and they have one time to pretty much kind of view it, or you can put it on your story, which means that they have 24 hours to kind of see it. From a business perspective, this is where you would potentially kind of utilize Snapchat. If you potentially have a younger demographic and you want to be able to create in the now kind of content, you essentially just put it on your story, and then people that are following you have the opportunity to kind of see it. I will be honest with you that Snapchat does get really tricky for small businesses. Not that you can't do it, but that you're a lot of times not going to see the ROI of the effort being put into Snapchat. And the platform that we're going to talk about next year usually is going to have a better ROI just because of the user experience there. Snapchat is definitely, again, can be really fun, can really, from a business and a personal aspect, and we can use it to drive brand awareness, drive company culture, and kind of establish yourself as cutting edge. But the other issue too is you really have to get a following on Snapchat by using other means. Whereas on Instagram, we can kind of have that discoverability factor. And on Facebook, and you can kind of be discovered. On Snapchat, though, you kind of got to push to get people to find you on Snapchat, which can be really kind of a struggle. Also, when snaps and all that content's only viewed for 24 hours, you obviously kind of run into sometimes kind of an issue of, again, that ROI. You're producing all this content, and most likely you may not see, not many people, again, can see it. So those are some of the things to kind of consider with Snapchat when we're looking at, again, should we do, utilize this from a small business? I have a couple clients that do, but I would say, honestly, if you're looking for my absolute recommendation, all the other platforms that we're talking about most likely are going to give you a better ROI than, again, going forward with Snapchat with the limited resources of time, energy, and budget that we're going to have in today's world. Okay, last but not least is TikTok. I'm sure all of us have at least heard of TikTok, if not aren't TikTok users. It's one of the fastest growing, if not the fastest growing, just up until this point, social media platform out there. We have 800 million daily active users, very much a Gen Z into little millennial, but very much predominantly Gen Z kind of platform, very tech savvy. We've got more than 2 billion downloads worldwide. And so really what we're talking about is video content. That's all that this is. And the reason that TikTok has exploded is because video content, even YouTube in general, have also exploded. So a lot of times you have with videos, you're going to have up to 60 seconds. You want to be able to try to just, again, it's kind of entertaining. You can definitely utilize it as a business. Skol Marketing just started utilizing TikTok just to have some fun with different ways to explain SEO and social media and to give kind of tips. So it allows you to kind of really be creative or have some member on your team really be creative, but just knowing that it is, all video based. So a lot of times where, again, you could, figure out what you want to post on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, in the middle of the night as you're just getting ready for bed. Obviously, that most likely isn't going to be the case on TikTok. There's going to be a little bit more planning, a little bit more kind of creativity. And of course, it's all video based, where all the other platforms that we talked about, you can have images. This one is the only platform that's just purely video based social media platform. So we can definitely drive more brand awareness, display company kind of culture, establish ourselves as cutting edge because it is so new and everything like that. But a couple negatives just to kind of realize is that it can't easily link back to websites. So we kind of are a little bit, we're getting people there, and it's a little bit more of that brand awareness and that brand equity that we're doing. Again, it's hard to track long-term performance just with some of the things that are in there because it is still very new. And there are some questions about regulations. If you remember the previous presidential administration, there were some issues there kind of with TikTok and stuff like that. So it's still such a, it's such a big new platform that there are some things that could be changing, again, with that, and that it is a Chinese company and stuff like that. Now, I don't say that stuff to scare you guys away. It's of course just being cognizant of that. I do recommend that if you can make TikTok work, I think this is a great way, because what we've also found is it's a great way to potentially connect with a younger generation, or or just a generation that might be right in your demographic. And then B, a lot of times it gets your your creative juices flowing for just other video content creation. If you've seen any of my other presentations when we talk about video content over social media or YouTube, where we talk about SEO, we talk about the explosion that video has done, and you really need to be on. It's not even that bandwagon, it's really that train that is leading, again, SEO and leading just marketing is video content. A stat's out there that said that 2/3 of people would rather watch a video than read content. Now, that's not necessarily predicated to social media here. That's to your websites, but you can kind of see the correlation here and why TikTok really exploded, because people love videos. So I do encourage you to check out TikTok, and I do encourage you to kind of look at that, to get to see how you might be able to fit that into your business. So here's just a social media etiquette. This is not to scale. It's just kind of give you an idea of some that are a little bit more social compared to some that are a little bit more business orientated, just to kind of give you a little bit of a scale to kind of look at that. And then last but not least, just to kind of quickly go over now, again, we have a full workshop just on this, but just to reiterate kind of how we briefly mentioned Facebook ads at the beginning here, is understanding that pretty much all these platforms that we talked about have an opportunity to run ads on them. Now, again, there's a difference sometimes between PPC and boosting or sponsoring that you might see. So PPC means that the platform is going to push it out there free of charge, and then you're just going to pay for every time that someone engages with it or clicks on it. Or the more popular way is going to be you're going to pay for the exposure, and then again, you're not paying every time someone engages with it. So those are just two different ways that you're going to kind of see on there. But I will say that especially if you're starting platforms, or if you haven't really paid attention to your Facebook in 5 years and you're just trying to reinvigorate it, I really encourage you to try to put some type of budget, even if it's $50, $100, $200 a month aside, to really help your social growth and your followers really kind of get a traction on there. Because one of the biggest reasons that we see, or as we've talked to people and as I've heard, of the reason that people stop doing social media is because they can't see the ROI on it, which a lot of times means that maybe we're not tracking it correctly with pixels, or B is we don't have enough followers yet, so we haven't done the right methodology yet. So it's it can definitely be frustrating, and I can understand that you're putting all this effort and you're not seeing it. As well, though, as we talked about at the beginning, is setting those right expectations. So with that said, I want to open it up to questions. I know we talked about a lot, and I know we blew through a lot, and you guys might have to come back and watch this a couple times to kind of do, but that's kind of the point, is to use this as a reference. And so I'd love to open it up. If anybody does have any questions, please put them into the chat, and I'd be more than happy to answer them as we go through. So one question I got here is, Ben, what platforms are best for B2B and what platforms are best for B2C? And so here's my thing, is when it comes to B2C, you can really use any of the platforms that we talked about, even LinkedIn, because there's going to be kind of a B2C component that people are going to see. Now, when you get into B2B, your business to business type of marketing campaigns, predominantly LinkedIn is going to lead the charge. And it kind of depends on, again, your industry and your market and what you're trying to do. But predominantly, you're going to start with LinkedIn. And then a lot of times we second see Facebook there. Now, again, it can definitely go deeper, but it's going to be dependent a little bit. B2C, pretty much all of them. B2B, predominantly start with LinkedIn and Facebook, and you kind of grow from there. And again, depending on your industry. Perfect. Well, if we don't have any other questions, that's completely fine too. So again, with that being said, I don't see any other questions in here, which, again, is totally fine. And that's where I just want to say, here's my contact information. If you guys do, have questions, if you guys do come up with things that you guys discover early, later on, and you want to ask those questions of me or want to, get in touch, please note this. I also want to say that, again, I really appreciate you guys doing this. And if you guys want to see more of our workshops, to check out skolmarketing.com/workshops, where we have about 8 different topics we speak on. And you can kind of see our upcoming live ones, as well as if you go to our YouTube channel, you can actually see all of our previously recorded workshops that we have available. And we pretty much have all those topics that we speak on. There are going to be some copies of those on YouTube as well. So actually, I did just get a question that popped in here. So it comes from Richard. So he says, so if I don't have time nor really the interest to pursue social media advertising, how can someone else post for me without knowing much about my business? Well, Richard, the question would be, that's almost two separate types of questions. One of the questions is, can someone post for you on your behalf? And the answer is yes. But then the other question is, do they need to get to know my business to effectively do that? And the answer is also yes. So the whole point about it is you can absolutely have people post for you. We have a ton of clients. We actually have over 50 clients that we actually chameleon their tone and their voice for. We also work with other clients that have internal people that do that for them. But the most important piece is that exact type of thing that you said at the end there, is you have to get to know the business. You have to know what the who the demographics are. You have to understand the expectations and what we're trying to do with social media. You have to understand the tone and the voice. And again, when we talk about tone and voice, I know I've kind of talked about that, but you can similarly relate that to celebrities. Are you a tone and voice of a Paul Rudd or a George Clooney or a Susan Sarandon? I'm just kind of throwing names out there, but a lot of times those people kind of have a persona that we know about. So the idea here, Richard, yes, is absolutely you can get help with someone posting it, and they can absolutely get to know your business in order to do that. You just have to make sure that that's done in order for that to be fruitful. Perfect. Well, again, I want to thank you guys for tuning in. I hope this was beneficial. Like I said, if you guys have any questions, please feel free to reach back to me. I also want to offer you guys, we also do free consultations. So again, this is not a sales pitch. If you want to talk about our services, we can gladly set up a time to do that. But another way that we give back to the community is we offer free consultations so that, if you guys want us to look at your social media, for instance, if you want to, talk about more video, if you want help setting something up, we just offer that free kind of, again, initial time. It's really, your free 30 minutes just to kind of engage with us, and we can really kind of help you do whatever you kind of want. It's our way of giving back. And so I also understand that I talk fast and we have to move really fast through these presentations. And I also do them classroom style, and I can't cater to everyone's potential needs or education style. So a lot of times us being able to offer this can help me, again, put you guys on the right path a little bit further. And like I said, it's just our way of giving back. So if you're curious in that, please just reach out and we'd be more than happy to set up a time with you and just help you out. Also, if you are interested in how we might be able to help you guys grow your business with digital marketing with our services, you can also reach out and we'd be more than happy to get you guys more information, if that's with social media or website development or SEM or SEO, all of that other kind of fun stuff. But again, I want to thank you guys for tuning in. I hope you guys learned a lot. I hope you guys had a great time, and Skol.